We good? I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:51 PM. We're starting late due to technical difficulties. I would like to call on Councillor DeRose to read the land acknowledgement statement.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the city of Thorold is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Darunk and the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The city of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live.
Thank you, Councillor DeRose. Are there any declarations of interest? I can't see Councillor Hannon. Okay, seeing none, adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes in the order of the agenda? Seeing none, I'll call on Councillor Kenny to move it and Councillor Wilson to second the motion to adopt the agenda. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Adoption of the minutes. CL 17-2022 and CL 18-2022. I have a mover, Councillor DeRose, and a seconder, Councillor Neal. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Mayor's report. On June 23rd, I attended the Venture Niagara AGM virtually to bring greetings on behalf of the city of Thorold. Thank you to General Manager Frank Rupsik and Venture Niagara Community Futures Development Corporation team for the invitation. Venture Niagara works closely with the city of Thorold and has the contract to provide our tourism services under Frank and Susan Moran's leadership. On June 23rd, Councillor Decker and I attended the Niagara River Lions mesh installation at the basketball nets in Port Robinson Park, Macadam Park, and Winterberry Park. Jeff Holman, Curtis Dray, Megan McCrae, Dave Baldoni, and River Lions personnel, including 2 players, were in attendance. This great community initiative is being done region-wide by the River Lions to grow the game of basketball. Let's get out to a River Lions game and support their team. On June 23rd, I attended Niagara Region's Pride Crosswalk unveiling located at the intersection of Sir Isaac Brockway and Schmoen Parkway. It represents the 2SLGBTQQIA+ community and is a visual reminder of how important it is to respect the rights, differences, and dignity of all people. I was honored to be asked to speak at the unveiling. On June 24th, I attended the grand opening sign cutting event for the new Castle Niagara Building Center located on 2880 Highway 20 in the city of Thorold. Councillors Neal, Sentence, and Wilson were in attendance along with CAO Manoj Dalwaria and Economic Development Manager Marco Marino. Congratulations to partners Chris Baxter, Gary, and Kevin Bollebrook on your grand opening, as well as investing and believing in the city of Thorold. They have a great facility and business plan. Let's support them. Shop local. On June 24th, Councillor Neal was joined by Dan Pelche and Tony Vandermaas to lay a wreath at the Battle of Beaver Dam's monument located on the corner of Davis Road and Old Thorold Stone Road in recognition of its 209th anniversary. Thank you, John Bertniak, for your reminder and recognition request on the important Battle of Beaver Dam's 2009th anniversary date. On June 25th, I attended and spoke at the opening and closing ceremonies for the Niagara 2022 Canada Summer Games Torch Relay, which began at the First Ontario Credit Union parking lot and ended in the Battle of Beaver Dam's parking lot. Joining me at the opening ceremonies were Councillors Wilson, Decker, and Sentence, and at the closing ceremonies, Councillor Neal. Megan McCrae was at both events. Regional Councillor Whalen was a torchbearer and spoke at the closing ceremonies. Thank you to all torchbearers, event sponsors, especially First Ontario Credit Union, and to everyone who volunteered and supported this event. It was only fitting that the torch started its municipal rounds in the city of Thorold, the hub of the Niagara region and home of Canada Games Park. On June 25th, I also attended Hartselle Marine and Auto Services grand reopening, which was delayed 2 years due to the pandemic. Regional Councillor Whalen and Councillor Wilson were also in attendance. Thank you, Dave DeGray, for your commitment to the city of Thorold, which began 12 years ago and has expanded into the marine sector. On Saturday, June 25th, I attended the retirement celebration for Dan Pelche at the Thorold Community Activities Group facility on Richmond Street. Presented him with a certificate of recognition on behalf of City Council. Councillor Wilson and Sentence, as well as MP Vance Badaway, were also in attendance. There was an excellent turnout to honor Dan. Congratulations on your retirement. Dan's last day was July 8th, and a new executive director, Megan Gilchrist, has been appointed to replace Dan Pelche, and she begins her duties on July 18th. On June 26th, I attended the Strawberry Social hosted by Port Robinson Community Center. Councillor Sentence was also in attendance, an excellent event featuring live music, a barbecue, desserts, as well as local historian Tom Russell giving an excellent talk on a peek into the community center's past. On June 27th, I attended the homelessness post-pandemic presentation put on by the Niagara region. CAO Manoj Dalwaria also attended, as did Ken Smolko, District Chief, Station 1. It was at the Niagara Falls Convention Center, and an excellent informative presentation was given by Ian DeJong. On June 28th, I attended the Climate Change Summit at Brock University. Councillor Neal, CAO Manoj Dalwaria, and Manager of Revenues and Accounting Kate Hanna also attended. This inaugural Climate Change Summit was hosted by the Niagara region in partnership with Brock University and the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. On June 28th, I presented Lou Gazzola with the certificate of recognition on behalf of City Council as the Thorold Anchors senior men's baseball team retired Lou Gazzola's number 28 as a tribute to his outstanding baseball career and achievements. Congratulations, Lou, well deserved. On June 29th, I attended the Thorold Secondary School graduation ceremony at the Americana Conference Resort Spa and Water Park in Niagara Falls. It was great to see the graduates have a proper graduation ceremony after 2 years of not being able to due to the pandemic. I presented the City of Thorold Mayor's Award to Dua Abbasi and the City of Thorold Council Recognition Award to Emma Bellward. On the same evening, Deputy Mayor Nella Decker represented City Council at the Dennis Morris Catholic High School graduation ceremony held at the Performing Arts Center in St. Catharines. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Decker, for representing Council. On behalf of City Council, congratulations to the graduates from both schools and all the best in your future endeavors. Congratulations, Tegan Gidney, for being chosen as the City of Thorold's Youth Ambassador at the Niagara 2022 Canada Summer Games. An emerging young leader in the City of Thorold, we are proud to have Tegan represent our community at the upcoming Canada Summer Games. On July 5th, I attended a virtual presentation hosted by Niagara Health. They are preparing to enter into the engagement period for their strategic plan, an excellent and educational presentation. The items that were keyed in on are a review and overview of Niagara Health's priorities and key initiatives which are underway to understand and agree on the facts about healthcare and collectively identify opportunities to collaborate for a healthier Niagara. On July 6th, we were officially 30 days out from the Niagara 2022 Canada Summer Games. We joined all municipalities across Niagara and the region and raised the Canada Games flag, as well as our partner province, Manitoba's flag. This was done at the Battle Beaver Dams Park, where we'll be hosting our 13 for 13 cultural event honoring Manitoba on Tuesday, August 9th. Joining me at the flag raising ceremony were CAO Manoj Dalwaria, Regional Councillor Whalen, Councillors Neal, Sentence, and Kenny. On July 6th, I attended the season opening performance of the Thorold Reed Band at the Battle of Beaver Dams Park. There was an excellent crowd to enjoy their first performance in over 2 years due to pandemic restrictions. The Thorold Reed Band was established in 1851 and is known as the oldest continuously running band in Canada. They will be playing every Wednesday evening through and including August 3rd. The Canada Day Rock and Blues in the Battlefield event held in the Battle of Beaver Dams Park on July 1st and 2nd was a tremendous success with large crowds both days. Due to the downpour just before the scheduled fireworks on July 1st, the decision was made to move the fireworks to July 2nd, and there were no weather issues that day, and the fireworks display was outstanding. Thank you to City Council for supporting this 2-day celebration and understanding the importance of getting our community together once again. Thank you to City staff for your outstanding efforts in getting the park ready for this event, as well as the planning and execution required to put on this celebration. Thank you to Bob Lettico for working closely with City staff, especially Jeff Holman, Curtis Gray, Stephanie Jarvis, and Megan McCrae in the planning and execution. Our community partners were unbelievable and stepped up big time with generous sponsorships. Most notably, the Government of Canada, Rolling Meadows Niagara, CN Rail, Empire Homes, Ontario Power Generation, Big Red Markets, Norgen Biotech, Foodland, and Long and McQuaid. Thank you to the local media outlets, radio, print, and social media for your coverage of our event. Tim Sennett would have been proud of everyone's efforts. On July 10th, I attended the Welcome to Canada fundraiser for a Ukrainian family who have recently settled in Canada. To see the community come together for this event at the Port Robinson Community Center was heartwarming and an excellent event. On behalf of City Council, I would like to congratulate Impact Promotions, Santino Perry, on making an impact for 15 years, 2007 to 2022, and Canal City Realty Brokerage, Serge and Adam Carpino, on 40 years of serving the City of Thorold and surrounding anniversary on their business anniversaries. Thank you for your commitment to our city. The Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce recently held their Niagara Business Achievement Awards, and CAA Niagara, who has its headquarters in the City of Thorold, was awarded the 2022 Business of the Year. Congratulations, CAA Niagara. You make a difference across the region. Regarding the post office with Shannon Passero, located on Front Street in the City of Thorold, we are excited to announce Shannon Passero's Woman Empowerment Awards nomination for Lifetime Achievement Award. She continues to make a difference in our community, supporting and lifting up the women who live, work, and shop here. What an honor to be recognized alongside key change makers. The award ceremony will take place on September 21st in Toronto. And thank you to city staff on passing our drinking water quality management standard audit with no nonconformities or minor nonconformities. Thank you, Steve Santo and Corey Youngblood, for your leadership, as well as our dedicated and committed team of operators. Dan Hales, Eric DeLuca, Rodney Rodolfo, Derek Longo, Shad Wogan, Jordan Hyam, and Ken Gilbert. And that's the end of my mayor's remarks. This presentations. Okay. The presentation from Jean D'Amelio Swire, Chair of the Age Friendly Committee, will take place at the next meeting. Motion to receive and file minutes or adopt recommendations of councils, committees, and boards. Minutes to review for information purpose. Special Events Advisory Committee meeting of Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022. Special Events Advisory Committee meeting of March 24th, 2022. Age Friendly Ad Hoc Advisory Committee meeting of Thursday, April 14th, 2022. Age Friendly Ad Hoc Advisory Committee Thursday, May 12th, 2022. Darlene Ryan, Port Robinson Community Center Board of Management, Monday, May 30th, 2022. Thorold Runway and Recognition Committee, Thursday, June 2nd, 2022. and Thorold One-Way Recognition Committee, Wednesday, June 29th, 2022. Call on Councillor Hanley to move and Councillor Sentence to second the motion to receive and file the minutes for review. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Minutes to endorse recommendations. CC 2022-49 age-friendly ad hoc committee recommendation for municipal street signs. I'll call on Councillor Neal to move and Councillor DeRose to second the motion. Receive and file the minutes for review or to accept. I will put that on the screen. I want the okay. Report 2022-49 dated July 12th, 2022, respecting age-friendly ad hoc committee recommendations for municipal street signs be received and the following recommendation be approved. That staff be directed to prepare a report respecting the implications of the recommendation to increase the font size on new and replacement municipal street signs. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, I had a mover, Councillor Neal, and a seconder, Councillor DeRose. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Statement by Councillor. Councillor DeRose, you're up on your first statement.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. The property in question that I wanted to discuss tonight and to ask for some staff feedback is the 2132 Beaver Dams Road, right behind Amici's at the corner of Merrittville and Beaver Dams. The property was previously owned by Dave Sabrin Sr. and Regional Group. He had plans for a viable business, bulk landscaping, distributor place. I believe it would have been a great asset to our community. Unfortunately, due to some issues with the MTO and some red tape, Dave sold the land to an entrepreneurial group. Since then, since this group has taken ownership, and it's an out-of-town group, the property's been unkept, not secured, has allowed people to dump construction material and waste products. And finally, I believe the city reached out to them and directed them to begin cleaning up. But all they did apparently, and I actually went out and looked myself, is they pushed most of the debris over to Amici's property. And I spoke to Paul DeVitis today. He wasn't too happy. And also on NPCA property. And so I spoke to them today and they're going to investigate. Here's my motion. That staff be directed to provide information respecting the property located at 2132 Beaver Dams Road, next to the 406 on Beaver Dams Road in Merrittville, and cleanup efforts of concrete debris, including detailed information respecting a strategy to deal with the property and any environmental concerns.
Okay, do you have a seconder from that? Councillor Sentence. Did you want to speak to that, Jason, or?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I can say that the bylaw enforcement division is active on this property. It is under a current investigation, so it is currently active. I don't know if council wishes this to be a formal report or just simply an email to council once this has been resolved.
I'll ask Councillor DeRose since it is his motion.
Yeah, you know what? I'll refer it back to Jason. Jason, what do you think would be conducive? Because I know you guys are swamped. What, as long as it gets done, what do you recommend? And I'll follow your lead.
Through Mr. Mayor, my recommendation would be that I simply provide council an update via email once the matter has been resolved.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Are you good?
Yeah.
So we're going to withdraw the motion and its direction to staff, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Mr. Mark, I just had one more thing because
Yeah, go ahead.
Dave wanted to make sure that people are aware that he does not own the property anymore.
Yeah,
Just because people kind of, blaming him and he doesn't own it. So everybody be aware that Dave does not own the property.
okay.
And I guess, Jason, the MPCA's on it too. So thank you.
And Councillor DeRose, you got the second statement by Councillor. Go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I met a lady recently and I promised her I would bring this up. Her son, Nicholas Adamson, 29 years of age, of Thorold, remains missing since March 17th. And he's not been seen since the night of March 17th, 2022. There's a missing persons investigation ongoing from detectives from District 1. And the great thing is, and I know the mayor emailed me late this afternoon, and it's in Thorold today. If everybody could just read that article, and I guess, I wanted to bring this up for her just to keep it current, and for anybody that has cameras in the vicinity of downtown Thorold, anywhere near the Front 54 Moose and Goose, and maybe there's something you might have missed, or if someone remembers something, because as she said, he just basically disappeared and vanished. So very distraught, very nice lady, and my heart went out to her. So and if we could, anything we could do on any city media sources, and keeping it current, and just kind of keeping it out there, so people may jog their memory, and hopefully he'll turn up.
Thank you, Counselor, and I agree. That's in today's Thorold today.
Yes.
So if anybody that can see that article can share it, we can put it on, we can share it as well on our city site. I know I did speak with
Jennifer, yeah.
Jennifer by email, and it is very troubling, and you're right, bring more awareness to it, and hope that something positive comes out of that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, delegations to report. So is this going to be a presentation?
Yeah, I'm calling her.
Okay. Okay, so report PWCS 77/2022 respecting the Frog Pond restoration update. Rachel Haynes from the Friends of Richmond Street Forest is going to be a delegation, and she can go ahead whenever.
I just want to make sure everyone can hear me first.
Rachel, you may need to turn off your or mute your computer in the background.
Yeah, I just bring that down right now.
Okay, we can hear you.
Perfect. All right. Not how I wanted to present today, but thank you for having me. First of all, good evening to council. As a member of Friends of the Richmond Street Forest, I'm speaking to council to share our thoughts and follow-up questions in response to the Frog Pond report to be discussed later this evening. In the final report, you will find our comments and reflections, which include our cautiously optimistic approval of the most recent plans. However, we are concerned about the reissuing of the site permit, as the report contains unclear parameters of work, specifically how the stormwater management pond will be built without interfering with the Frog Pond restoration. We are also concerned that there is no mention of improvements to the environmental permit process at City Hall, which is an important step in reconciling the destruction of the lands that were protected under an MOU. In the past 4 months of collaboration with the City of Thorold and its stakeholders, we have worked hard to improve upon previous plans, which included non-native plant species, a disastrous suggestion of relocating the Frog Pond itself, and a significant shrinkage in protected space. Through collaborative efforts, the final drafts presented tonight offer a hopeful return of frogs, wetlands, and other flora and fauna that were lost earlier this year. Some notable victories include the first terrestrial eco-passage in Niagara, which will connect the Frog Pond to the Lake Gibson corridor. As well, it was important to include post-construction monitoring of the Frog Pond, which includes monitoring of frog breeding, plant viability, and overall health of the Frog Pond design. Lastly, the City of Thorold essentially returned land to the Frog Pond itself, as previous designs showed vacant land to the north of the Frog Pond. Plans now include a more forested area to complement and protect the pond. Although Friends of the Richmond Street Forest had a goal of restoring 100% of the lands that were bulldozed, today's design is a significant improvement to previous designs. By listening to the community and experts in ecology, the City of Thorold should be acknowledged for visiting the drawing boards and asking for professional guidance to create the best possible solution for the Frog Pond. Yesterday, we received the full report from City Hall, and we're drawn to a few points that require clarification. In the report, there is mention of reinstating the permit with, quote, a 10-meter buffer from the contributing area from the frog pond, which will ensure no damage to these lands, end quote. However, 8 trees, the city hired ecologist recommended that, quote, the vernal pool must be constructed before the stormwater facility. We are asking that council clarify the limitations of work should the permit be reissued. We ask firstly, will work begin on the frog pond first? The report was unclear about an estimated start date. We also ask what protections are included in the 10-meter buffer. Fencing, for example, will protect the pond and frog metamorphs before digging begins at the stormwater management pond. While we respect the desire for the city of Thorold and developers to continue construction, we want to be assured that the permit is reinstated without errors. Grave mistakes were made the first time, and we do not want to see months of work and tax dollars wasted. We want to be assured that the site work is carried out in a responsible manner and ensures the success of the frog pond project itself. When council first spoke of the frog pond destruction on February 15th, 2022, they desired to see an internal review of the environmental permit process at City Hall. Councillor Wilson shared that, quote, we have some serious issues internally if that's what's happening. It's just obscene to me. While Councillor Hanley echoed the disbelief, quote, I can't believe that the city actually gave a permit and allowed this to occur, knowing the fight that was put in there by Carla Carlson. Councillor Longo stated, quote, we need to find out how this happened, and we need to make sure this never happens again. Today's report does not mention a review of how the permit was issued in the first place and what actions city staff have implemented to prevent this from happening again. While we can all agree that the frog pond is a small corner in Thorold, this report lacks a serious reflection of the permit process at City Hall, specifically to environmentally sensitive areas and their urban development. As little as the frog pond may be, its destruction in February of this year clearly demonstrates the need for an improvement to the permit process itself and should bring more attention to a more responsible and balanced urban planning way of thinking. Additionally, if the lands in question were properly included in the city and regional maps, there would be no question as to whether the pond was protected or not. As this report did not mention an internal review of procedures that relate to the environmental permit processes in the city of Thorold, we ask, on behalf of our charity members and all citizens of Thorold, whether a review has taken place. Have procedures been updated to ensure that this level of careless destruction will never happen again? Councillors, you asked how this could have ever happened in February of this year. Are you confident that this will never happen again? As you review the report tonight, we want you to ask questions. Consider the motions passed on March 8th and reflect upon the progress made to bring us to this report and its designs today. If the permit is reissued, what work limitations will be put in place? What work will begin on the frog pond first, as recommended by the city hired ecologists? What specific expectations will be included in the 10-meter buffer that will ensure the frog pond is protected? And lastly, what actions have been implemented at City Hall to ensure that protected, environmentally sensitive areas in Thorold will never be destroyed again? Thank you for the opportunity to follow up on this report.
Thank you, Rachel. Did you want to comment, Sean, or I'll open the floor for questions as well?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the first and most important concept is that our ecologist will be on site during the construction and helping direct the construction. So any issues in terms of making sure that the frog pond is constructed first will certainly be taken care of by our ecologist. Secondly, the 10-meter buffer will be protected both by DG Group and by our ecologists. They'll be out there making sure we take every step necessary to protect that buffer. And then the third is the review of internal processes is coming in a future report.
Thank you. And so I'm going to open the floor for questions to anybody that has any questions for Rachel. Go ahead, Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have any questions, but because of technical difficulties, Councillor Hanley has sent me some.
Sure.
So Rachel, I'm not sure, can you hear me?
Yes, it's a bit of a delay, but yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I apologize for this. I will read his questions and hopefully you can answer for council. So through you, Mr. Mayor, the first question was there anything promised to you by the city that they did not honor in this report?
Well, sort of getting back to my delegation itself, we were hoping to see more results in terms of this not happening again. We had our hurdles in the planning process itself. Most importantly, we were hoping to move the stormwater pond farther away from the frog pond itself, and we were hoping for a dry design. Currently, the stormwater management pond is a wet design, which will run the risk of still attracting wildlife. And what happens in a stormwater pond is that water is mostly polluted. So although it might look like it's trying to restore nature, stormwater ponds are rather polluted and we don't want wildlife in there. So part of the internal review in looking at what we've done collaboratively with the frog pond is, exploring the options that the city can consider doing dry stormwater management ponds in the future. The internal report, we just want to see that this won't happen again and that there are changes made to how these permits are issued. And currently, I don't know where we stand on how this area is mapped. It has been verbally adopted into the Lake Gibson corridor, but I don't know of any updated mapping that actually protects this space in terms of how it looks to the city of Thorold or how it looks at the region.
Thank you. Next question from Councillor Hanley is, would yourself or Carla like to have direct input in the selection of a consultant for an impact study?
Absolutely. We'd like to, continue being involved in the process beyond the report and the drawings that you're going to review today. It's important to us that we continue to be a part of what this frog pond looks like once construction is done and its viability. So we would be happy to be a part of that process as well.
Thank you. And a third question from Councillor Hanley. Do you feel that a traffic study should be done in the area?
Absolutely. Living nearby DQ Road myself, it's really challenging for me personally to see what DQ Road will look like once we have more of these subdivisions being built, because I can't visualize how DQ can become wider or have more side streets encroaching upon it. So I think it would be important to have a traffic study in place. One thing that is on our side is that through the designs that you're going to see tonight, we do have the first terrestrial eco passage in Niagara. So that's going to allow some of our smaller wildlife like turtles and frogs and snakes to be able to move from the frog pond and that side of the street and be able to move underneath DQ Road to head over to Lake Gibson. However, an eco passage doesn't protect some of our larger animals. So I think a traffic study would be important to see how much more traffic will end up in that area.
Okay, thank you. And another question from Councillor Hanley. Would you like a say and to be part of the design of the frog pond?
Sorry, can you repeat that one again?
Would you like a say and be part of the design of the frog pond?
So the plans that are being presented tonight, we have approved with some optimism. There is always the risk that this design won't work, because what we're attempting to do essentially is play Mother Nature. This isn't the best result that we would want. Ideally, the bulldozing would never have happened in the first place, and we would just be letting nature do what it does best. However, if there's anything that's brought up tonight or in future plans that require, major alterations or even consultation from us, we would be happy to be a part of that as well.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it. Councillor Hanley has some things he wants to add to the report in the form of motions, but those aren't questions for you at this point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor, go ahead, Counselor Ken.
I, I'm not understanding this. We had 3 public meetings. And were these points raised at the Rachel, did you raise these at the public meetings? These points? I thought that's what
So the site alteration plan would definitely be our biggest concern of reissuing that permit. I just want to make sure that counselors are having that open discussion and we know what that means. If I'm looking at the current permit that's in place that was sent to us, we were sent a copy of it in maybe February or March. If I'm looking at the same permit, I mean, one thing that would have to change is what the design looks like itself, just as an example. And also just sort of really clarifying that language of what's happening in that 10-meter buffer. I just want to, on behalf of our group and behalf of the citizens of Thorold, I just want to be sure that we are putting everything in place that needs to be there. A 10-meter buffer is going beyond just having that space between the stormwater pond and our frog pond. Also from the report and discussions, it wasn't clear what work was going to take place first. The current site permit is actually covering both lands, the frog pond itself and the stormwater pond. So we want to make sure, based off of the recommendations from our ecologist hired by the city, we want to make sure that the frog pond is getting the attention it deserves, and it needs to happen first in order to make this a successful project as possible. If we start the stormwater pond first, we run the risk of damaging the work that we've been trying to do to save that land as it stands right now. So starting the stormwater pond would actually run a great risk to the success of the frog pond restoration itself.
So when you say are you speaking for the group or for yourself?
I speak on behalf of Friends of Richmond Street Forest.
Okay, because myself as a counselor, we had 3 public meetings and then we get a report back to recommend something. So I'll be honest with you, I wasn't at any of the meetings, but I have to wonder what happened at these meetings. Like, you're saying one thing and we're getting the report a little bit different.
Well, we'll talk about that when the report's on the floor. You can ask those questions.
Well, I'm asking Rachel, what happened? Like,
we're just looking for more clear language, like based off of the report and based off of the drawings. We just want to encourage counselors to ask those questions and not put a rush to the program.
that's what I'm asking you.
Counselor, she's speaking. Let her finish speaking, please.
Hello?
that's
Okay, we just want to make sure that with the site permit itself, because it covers both the frog pond and the stormwater pond, we want to make sure that the language is clear of what work needs to be done first. And ideally, what should be happening first with recommendation from the ecologist is the frog pond.
No, I understand what you're saying. I was under the impression that you were going to, tell this to staff and it would be in the report that we got back. That's why we had the meetings.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Counselor Sentence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Rachel. I believe I was on most of the meetings. I had to leave once, but we had great conversations actually with everybody, including yourself, Rachel. I do understand the 2 questions you have for Sean, and I think he answered them pretty good. But I believe we all had great discussions and came to this conclusion together. It's not perfect, shouldn't have happened, but that this was the way we were going to go. Was that correct? Just for Councilor Kenny's clarification.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put down the work that happened. I thought our meetings were collaborative. I thought that we had a lot of great discussions. My delegation is mostly based on what that site permit would look like. Reissuing it, on behalf of the group, I completely understand why this needs to move forward. I thank the city of Thorold for putting this project on hold for 4 months to get the best solution possible. I just, as somebody who does not work with site alteration permits, I am unclear if the language will actually make sure that the frog pond gets the attention that it deserves.
Okay,
And that's just what I want to make clear.
thanks, Rachel. Understood.
Okay.
there any further questions before I call on Sean? Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Rachel. Rachel, you, and I would ask this to staff. Would you be interested in having the ecologist report to you and Rachel as kind of a subcommittee? So is that something you would be interested in?
Well, I don't know if we would have to make a new committee, considering we already have a committee in place. I would
Committee in place,
believe that the
Councillor
work
Duran.
would continue throughout construction and post-construction.
Okay, thank you. And I've just got one more question, but I'll direct it towards Sean after he speaks. Thank you.
Is there any questions for Rachel before we move into the report? Go ahead, Councillor Neil.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rachel. And it's great to have a committee that's looking after the environment. A question though, regarding the frog pond and when they do the design and they move forward and put it in, would you have part of the committee at least looking when it's completed to make sure it's completed properly?
Yes, we would like to continue being part of the efforts to, working alongside all stakeholders, the developers, the city of Thorold, the city hired ecologist. We believe that the committee that has been established in the planning of the frog pond design that you're going to view tonight, I strongly believe that this is a committee that should continue to assess the construction itself and assess the viability of the frog pond once it's completed.
I agree that the committee should continue and should be part of the environmental assessments across the city. But my question is similar to the question that Councillor Kenny just mentioned, is that we have set up a committee and they've had a few meetings and I wasn't at them. But they've set up, and this is where things should come through as the committee. If you have a comment or a question on some of the issues that the committee were looking at, then you should be going through the committee and I mean, you came tonight and made your presentation on behalf of a committee, but it's not the committee that we're talking about tonight. It's
Right. Yeah, so
and
the
that-
reason why I presented as a delegate tonight was because the Friends of the Richmond Street Forest Group did not see the report as a whole. So we specifically zoned in on the site alteration permit. But I do agree with you that, keeping those communication lines open and presenting issues such as this to a committee would be the most valuable use of our time. However, there was no discussion of this committee continuing after this report. So if that's something that we can continue to do, then I don't need to speak as a delegate every time there's an issue.
I believe that we set this committee up, we set it up for a long term. And so the committee will continue and hopefully you will continue to be a good asset on the committee along with the others that have put their names forward that are on the committee. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd be happy to be a part of it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there any further questions before I bring the report to the floor? Okay. Thank you, Rachel. I want to thank you for coming to council tonight in your presentation.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to the PWCS 2022-77 Frog Pond Restoration Update. I have a mover, Councillor DeRose, and a seconder, Councillor Wilson, but I will turn this over to Sean Dunsmore to introduce and speak.
It is recommended that the design for the frog pond construction be approved, that the site alteration permit for the lands be reinstated, and the lands be named the Carlson Frog Pond Conservation Area. So concludes the report.
Okay, now, so questions, we're going to do questions right now for Sean. Go ahead, Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a comment, not a question. Is that okay? Okay, perfect.
Absolutely.
I was actually at one of the committee meetings and I can say that I thought it was a great group of people from the city, from the Friends of Richmond Street Frog Pond, from ecologists, people that were talking about trees and species I didn't even know existed. So although I was one of the very upset people that this even happened, I think everybody agrees that if it didn't happen, we'd be in a better spot. But I just wanted to make a comment that I am really impressed how staff reacted and played a role in this committee and have really turned it around. And I think, you know, we all make mistakes, and obviously we can learn from this, and hopefully the report that comes forward in the future will ensure this doesn't happen again. But having sat on that, I felt actually really silly that I didn't know that much about frogs and trees and all sorts of things they were talking about to make sure this area stays and maintains its species and grows from there. So I was happy with the response that Mr. Dunsmore had with regards to the comments made this evening. And so that's really my comment. I'm just thankful that we've come this far. I didn't actually think it would be this good. No offense, not that you guys weren't capable of that, but it was just great to see the community come together in all aspects and us hiring an ecologist and all that sort of stuff. It was fantastic. So I'm excited to hear those frogs again.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Is there anyone else who wants to speak? Councillor Neil.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, to follow up on what Rachel mentioned and what I thought was going to happen with this committee is to continue, and not just with the frog pond, but across the city. And one comment she made is the environmental issues, and do we have an environmental policy in place moving forward? And right now we do not. And I want to make sure that that does happen. And that this committee move forward, because we have a number of projects that are coming forward. New developments are coming in with their ponds and there's no mention so far, and it's not staff's fault. It's just our fault in not asking for more trees or when the ponding that comes in with these new developments, other aspects of the environment. And that's so. I hope that this committee continues on, and that the people that are part of the committee will continue on helping the city move forward, and that staff come back with a policy regarding the environmental issues.
Thank you. I'll ask Sean, is it the intent that this committee continue to meet as the process is going on there for updates? And I know it's easy for that group to get that group together to call a meeting. Is that the intent?
Certainly that could be the approach. We could continue to have bi-weekly meetings if that's what they would prefer, to see what the progress is, see if there's any outstanding concerns. For sure.
I think that's been, I think that's something that the group would like.
Do we need a motion for that?
No, that's a direction. That committee's already up and running, so we'll just make sure that they continue to meet. As far as the bigger scope, we can look at something, whether we want to create a committee, a council or something on a bigger scope citywide. Okay, they're both good points. They're two separate things, but they involve the same thing. Okay, Councillor DeRose and then Councillor Long.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Sean. Sean, I see that in the report, the developer collaborated to help in the design process. I just wondered, is there any more responsibility the developer will be taking?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, they hired ecologists as well to help with the design. The intent is for them to actually do the construction as well. So they'll get that taken care of. And then after that, making up signs and stuff like that are things we haven't negotiated with them. But at this point in time, they're going to do the finalize the design and then do any construction required.
Thank you, Sean.
Councillor Longo, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager engineering. That was going to be my question. In here, it talks about the design for the construction of a frog pond. So the developer has promised to pay for this?
Yes.
Okay, so they're taking care of this. Okay, great. Because it didn't say that anywhere, at least that I could see it. I saw there were no budgetary responsibilities here, so that's good news. And it's great that the developer stepped forward to do that. The questions that the presenter brought forward through you, Mr. Mayor,
Go
to the
ahead.
manager engineering, the progression of how we do things here. She seemed to be concerned about doing the
Frog Pond first? Would that be the intention here? Or would we be issuing the site alteration permit? And would that go ahead first? What's the plan here?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as I said before, the intent is to have the restoration ecologist continuing to be involved in the process, therefore helping direct the construction. And since that ecologist was the one who actually made the suggestion that the Frog Pond go first, I'm sure that will be exactly what happens.
Okay, great. And I guess I'll just finish with a comment, maybe piggybacking on what Councillor Neal said. You know, at the time, and the presenter quoted me, and I was upset at how it could happen. Now that's done, we can't change that, but the big concern is how do we stop this from happening in the future? And I agree with what Councillor Neal says. I think we need to have some sort of environmental committee or an environmental employee where the environment's taken into consideration as a priority on any project we do. We need to make sure that we protect our natural environment. And again, this was a problem and it was a mistake or it was an oversight, but we need to make sure that that's addressed somewhere, if not today, in the future. And I think we need to figure out a way that, again, this doesn't happen again.
I agree, Councillor Longo, and I agree that how we do it, when that report comes back, I do think that there should be involvement at a committee level, but with a staff member as well. But I can tell you that at the region, we just finished the official plan at the region, and part of the official plan was the natural heritage, and all of that was incorporated into the official plan. With us going to be doing a new official plan at the beginning of the new term of council, that's all an important aspect of the new official plan that should definitely piggyback on what the region did. And I think it would be a win-win, build on what the region did at the local level. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And this is through Councillor Hanley because of our technical difficulties. So he's asking, I think he wants to add a motion to this, that a wildlife study by the developer be done before any permits are issued. I'm just reading his questions here. He's saying that he would like to put a motion forward for a traffic study in the area. And finally, he would like Rachel Haynes to be part of the whole process, pond design, impact study, etc. So I don't know what to take of these text messages I've received, but
I can tell
that's
you,
what he's saying.
Rachel's part of the group, as you know, because you've been at the meetings. So
Yep.
she's part of that working group, so I would say that addresses that. As far as traffic studies, and I'll turn that over to Sean, are they all part of what's, if you want to explain the traffic studies, are they part of what's going on with the ongoing development?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, the development, although draft approved at this point in time, one of the requirements before they get final subdivision approval, which will come later this year, is to have those traffic impact studies completed. Further, as part of the development that was just across the road, across Richmond Street, there was some traffic impact studies done there as well. And later on this year, we're going to start the process of designing, doing the EA and designing for the improvements to DeQ Road to the south, and those will also involve traffic impact study.
So are those issues addressed, the issue on the traffic study, the issue of Rachel being on the committee already? And what was the third one, Councillor? I think that's all been part of what's transpired.
That was part of the original subdivision agreement as well.
And there's the wildlife corridor, if I'm not mistaken, that come up in those meetings.
That's right.
Okay. So I think those issues are all addressed. If you want to text back to Councillor Longo, I think that they're all been addressed either by the committee or in future studies that are coming. Counselor's sentence, and then I'll go back to
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. I was at these meetings. They were some of the most productive, positive, go forward meetings that I've been at from both sides of the fence. So thank you to the committee. Thank you to staff. Well done. Again, can't go back, going to go forward. And I think anything we do from here, this is time sensitive for the frogs, for the committee, for everybody, that I think they've done all the due diligence and we should just move forward with this report. That's to my feelings.
thank you. Go ahead, Counselor Thorold.
Through Mr. Mayor, just a question, Sean. Sean, how old is the traffic study that was done in that area previously? Just because there's so many changes, so much growth that I'm just curious how old it was.
I believe that RV Anderson did one just last year for it. And what it was actually doing was predicting full build out of the area. But we will certainly be renewing that in the very near future.
Okay, and you also said that, or the mayor, I think the mayor mentioned it, the wildlife impact studies, they're planned or they're not planned? I didn't think they were planned.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, they're always done as, but environmental impact studies are always done as part of any subdivision.
No, the
approval.
wildlife impact study, sorry, not environmental. The same thing or?
Same thing.
Oh, okay, okay, thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Counselor Ken.
I agree with Counselor Sens. This is time sensitive. We've had our meetings. We have the experts now in place. Let's move forward and accept this report, and everybody's made positive comments. So I'll agree with what Counselor.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, before I call the vote, I want to say, and I attended all the meetings and I was extremely impressed by the professionalism and the way everybody worked together to get to an end result. It was just top notch. So and to have a committee like that, to do that work and to work as a cohesive unit, I think is something we can all learn from, because that is a model moving forward. I really believe so. Anyways, any further discussion, comments? Go ahead, Councillor Long.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just so when you call the vote, Councillor Hanley wanted me to say that he's in favor.
Okay, thank you. I'm calling the vote then. I had a mover, Councillor DeRose, and a seconder, Councillor Wilson, on PWCS 2022-77. Frog Pond Restoration Update, but I seen Councillor Hanley was waving his hand. Oh, okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Good discussion. I want to make sure I don't miss anyone. These are different technologies we're using this evening. Okay. Consent reports. I have a mover, Councillor Hanley, and a seconder, Councillor Sentence, to receive consent reports 14.1 through 14.3, 14.5, 14.6, 14.8, 14.9. Does anyone want to pull a report? Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just the last report, I just have a question on that. So 14.9, just the correspondence. to
Okay,
council.
I'll leave that to the end. So I've got the rest, 14.1 through 14.3, 14.5, 14.6, and 14.8. And I had a mover, Councillor Hanley, seconder, Councillor Sentence. All those in favor? Opposed, that's carried. And now 14.9 CC 2022-48 council correspondence. And I'll go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I just had a question. The the third item, to do with the Grimsby Airport, and all it has is a letter from Welland City Council accepting, for information purposes, accepting correspondence from the town of West Lincoln, but it doesn't tell us what they're talking about. So it's very vague. I was just curious, I just want to make sure it doesn't implicate Thorold in any negative way.
No, a good question, and I'll get the city clerk to answer that for
So through the mayor, that's just what was received to be circulated, but we can certainly look and further circulate any additional.
Okay, thank you, Matthew.
you. Okay? You're just receiving it is all we're doing, okay? We're not endorsing it or,
No, but we don't even know what information we're receiving. That's the problem.
so you will get that.
We'll
Well,
Okay.
okay,
Thank you.
okay, so I had a mover, Counselor Hanley, and a seconder, Counselor Sentence. All those in favor? Opposed, that is carried. Discussion reports. DF 2022-14 modifications to water sewer collections processes. I had a mover, Counselor Hanley, and a seconder, Counselor Kenny, and I'll turn this over to our Director of Finance, Maria Morrow. Go ahead. Or who's doing this? Kate, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kate.
Good evening through you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendations are that the primary collection method for overdue water sewer accounts be amended to use the transfer of overdue amounts to property tax accounts as the primary collection method, that the disconnection of services be used as the secondary collection method at the discretion of the Director of Finance, and that the respective sections of bylaw number 1783-93 be amended to reflect the recommendations report DF 2022-14.
Thank you, Kate, and I'll open the floor for any questions regarding this. Go ahead, Counselor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to the Director of Finance. I noticed the change that it's going to be to the full discretion of yourself. Now, one of my concerns is I think we're going to run into an issue with people that just can't afford to get caught up at this point, just with what's going on with the economy. So are we, does that mean basically we're going to have to deal with it a little in a softer way or in a, you know what I'm saying, Maria?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, actually, the change indirectly is a softer way of
Right.
dealing with it.
Yeah,
Because
yes.
prior to this, if an individual did not pay their water bill and wouldn't come in and make arrangements, their service would be cut off.
Correct.
Now what will happen for the majority of the case is that it will be added to their tax bill. So that gives them more time, like that there is an interest charge, 1.25% a month. There is an interest charge, but at least it gives them more time to address the issue prior to them losing the service.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. That's a very good change. And I appreciate that because I'm very concerned that this is going to become a little more prevalent in our community, and I think every community. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Go ahead, Counselor Kenny.
Just a question to Marie too. So does that mean that you would then put a lien on the house?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the water charges, any outstanding water charges have always been a lien on the house, and it runs with the property. So this really is no different
Okay.
than what we're doing right now. Again, it's just a collection method that most of the municipalities in the area have employed in terms of, not taking away the service, but actually adding it to the taxes. And in terms of the secondary collection method, that would be very, very few and far between. I can envision a situation where perhaps you have a property that is in arrears already, that we expect that if we were to put it up for tax sale, we wouldn't recoup the money anyway. So in that case, we probably would go to, to a cutoff of the service.
Okay, is there any further questions? Okay, seeing none, I had a mover, Counselor Hanley, and a seconder, Counselor Kenny. All those in favor? Opposed, that is carried. Okay, a closed meeting. Right? Oh, we're canceled. Okay. Where are we now? Okay, bylaws. I have a mover, Counselor Neal, and a seconder, Counselor Sentence, to introduce the bylaws and that the same now be read a first time. Bylaw 51, 2022, bylaw 57, 2022, bylaw 59, 2022, bylaw 60, 2022, and bylaw 66, 2022. Bylaw 68, 2022, and now be read a first time. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. I did say that was mover Counselor Neal and the seconder Counselor Sentence, okay? Again, I got a mover Counselor Neal and a seconder Counselor Sentence that the bylaws just read a first time, be read a second and third time and do pass. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Adjournment. There being no further business, this meeting is hereby adjourned at 7:50.